Well, Ross, thanks for joining us. What would you have learnt tonight?
A lot. Very difficult one, Dave, because I remember us standing after the Southend game and saying that if you make changes and come into this competition with an open mind, we have to be open-minded to the way that things pan out and the way that they work. Fortunately, on that night, we'd beaten Southend and the feeling was an upbeat one. Tonight, we've obviously suffered a 3-0 defeat and we're very disappointed with that. But I think we have to look at the good and the bad of what came from it. There was some very good. I thought for the first 35 minutes after a ridiculous goal, a penalty to concede, we performed very, very well. And if I'm honest, probably should have been 2 or 3-1 up at half time. So again, on top of that, there was some negative stuff that we'll have to analyse and look at in terms of the progress and the development of the players that were involved tonight.
I suppose normally you get two sides that make a lot of changes. What was unusual here is that you made 9, they only made 2.
Yeah, and I expected that a little bit, and potentially, have I set the team up to fail tonight in a way because of the amount of changes we've made? Then yes, but if we'd have got beat against Southend, we'd have probably said the same thing. So in the pre-match meeting with the lads today, I said to them I'd expect this team to stay very, very familiar to the one that played at the weekend because there's obviously managerial uncertainty here, and they obviously got a positive result in the league at the weekend, and I would have imagined that they would have tried to build on that momentum. Other people would argue at the same time that potentially we were in a similar boat, but what I felt is that this was a real good opportunity again, as it was with Southend, to give players that haven't played minutes an opportunity, and players that are trying to play their way either into the team or find their way in the game, an opportunity to go out and perform.
No arguments with the penalty decision?
No, I thought it was poor from Shad in the build-up, in terms of him sort of not quite getting it right in terms of whether he pressed and whether he stayed in, and then he sort of lost his man and just started the game slowly, in my opinion, which you can argue is a trait of a young player, but you want him to come out and be switched on. But it's why you throw him into environments like this tonight and learn from it. And unfortunately for him, it's a harsh learning experience for him to give away a penalty so early in the game. So no arguments with that.
And Owen had a penalty, and it looked as if Louis Dennis was going to take it initially.
Yeah, we just had a bit of a debate in there. There's obviously assigned penalty takers in the group, and we've gone through changes. Jordan's missed one this season, so I suppose without Leanne Goal in the team at the moment, the only one to score one, we're looking for a penalty taker. So it was assigned. I wouldn't tell anybody who it was, and I suppose you can argue two ways. Did Dale Gorman show guts to step up and take the penalty despite being a poor penalty and him missing? The other side of it, you could say that we showed a little bit of indiscipline because we didn't stick to what was discussed beforehand.
There weren't many positives, but there was one big one. James Dayton. Yeah,
fantastic to see James out there. It wasn't a plan to make him captain just because he was returning. He was obviously our most experienced player tonight. I thought he played really well. And I thought, like I say, there wasn't many positives. But I just said to the boys there, for the first 35 minutes, I thought we performed well. Louis hits the bar from, on another day where it should go in. We had another couple of half chances. Balls went across the box. Miscued finishes and stuff like that. Obviously the penalty on top of it. So we had a couple of little moments, nowhere near the level that we would want and we would expect, but there was positives in there. But James was a big one. I'm so pleased for him because there's been some long dark days for him until recently, really, where he's fought to get himself back. So we tried to be sensible with him tonight in terms of knowing that an hour was about his maximum. We didn't want to push him any further than that because it would have put him in jeopardy and at risk of injury.
Such a serious injury. He's done ever so well, hasn't he, to get back so quickly?
Incredibly well. It's sad, isn't it, because he's come through some serious injuries since he's been with us. But the one thing he does is he maintains his professionalism all the way through it. He shows incredible mental strength to come back, and this I didn't expect to. I think we were starting to talk about beginning of November when we might see him in a fixture. So he's come back well ahead of schedule, which is what we're all delighted about.
Scoreline harsh, particularly for Sam Sargent. Made that double save in the first half.
Yeah, very good save. I thought he made in the first half. And like I said there, start the two halves, Dave, naive in the way that we've gone about it. We spoke about we were still well in the game. We felt we were still well in the game at half time and had have every opportunity to come out and create chances. If we stuck to what we'd done in the first 35 minutes, and we just sort of failed to meet those standards and do the real simple things well in the game, putting people under pressure with passes and things like that. So I felt for Sarge, for free to go past him. It wasn't a performance that he deserved that.
Look ahead now to Saturday, Walsall in town. There's going to be a big crowd at the Way Group Stadium, Brisbane Road. Who's going to be in charge, Ross?
I'm planning that it's me, Dave, because I think it would be naive if I didn't. My conversation with Martin, start of it, I say yesterday, was I'm going to plan for today, and then everything else will be planned towards the weekend. We made changes tonight in order to keep people ready and fresh to be able to go hell for leather, to go and get 3 points against Walsall at the weekend. So I'll be brutally honest when I say that I don't know how close or how far we are from appointing or finding that new manager, and that's me being sincere and straight. I couldn't say it any straighter than that. My job is, as it has been since the start of the summer, is to prepare the team the best that I can. And tomorrow we will come in, fully foot to the floor to do everything that we can to prepare for the weekend. If it changes before that, then the boys will be that little bit more prepared for a new manager. If he doesn't, we'll be going out there to try and get 3 points before he arrives.
Is it a difficult situation for yourself and the players?
It's not for me. I suppose I can only speak for them. For me, sorry. I don't find it difficult now because I know where I'm heading and I know where the club's heading, albeit who's going to be taking us in that direction is obviously a bit of a grey area at the moment. But I think it's made it sort of plain and simple now. There's no one sort of wondering how long I'm going to be in charge for. No one's wondering whether I'm coming and going or what the situation's going to look like. We all know where we stand. I think the one thing that we have to hang on to is that message that I've said to you now a couple of times, is it was about, when the decision was made, about using the period of time, however long it was going to be, to give us a springboard for when the new man comes in. We've got 4 points out of those 2 games, so I'm desperate for us to be looking at 7 points after the weekend.
And finally for me, Ross, other than bruised pride, any injuries tonight?
A few people sort of talking about my substitutions I could hear behind the goal during the second half, which is fine in a 3-0 defeat. But Marvin Ekpetita had to come off. He was suffering with a bit of tight hamstring at half time, so that was why we brought Marv off. Shadrach came off because we felt he hadn't played for a little while, and we were, he might struggle if we left him on that much longer. So, and obviously James Dayton was a planned one right from the beginning. So as far as I'm concerned, it's Marvin's a little bit of a concern, but it was I'm feeling my hamstring rather than I've pulled my hamstring was the message that I got in there. So I'm hoping that all will be well by the weekend.
And Sam Ling?
Sam's had a scan and there's no tear in his groin or any severity showing up on that. I think it's now a case of it's something that he suffered with. I think I said to you at the weekend where it's been, for whatever reason he suffered a bit of a niggle in that area, and it's progressively got worse. Now he's obviously suffered that injury at the weekend and had to come off the pitch. That makes it clear to us now that we have to address that problem and give him that little bit of time to strengthen that area and come back stronger for it. So I think we might be getting too excited if we think we might see him by the weekend, but you never know. But I think that's more of an unlikely one than anything else.